Maybe if I hadn't been stone broke, 2 months behind on my office rent and 3 on my apartment, in debt to Kenjiro, my law clerk, for 6 weeks back pay, and completely out of cat food for Oliver Wendell, I wouldn't have taken that night court shift down at the Coliseum, and my name wouldn't have been the subject of worldwide scorn. But ever since the law firm of Hinkle, Remmers, and Schmidt kicked me to the curb after Brandon Schmidt Jr. lost a slam dunk case and blamed me for it, well, things hadn't been going so smoothly for Maxine Justice, LLC. People think attorneys make a lot of money, but the truth is most of us in the personal injury racket only made real bank 3 or 4 times a year. The rest of the time we spent baiting lines. Eventually, you either burned out and went to work doing research for a government firm, or you built a steady flow of victims and started pumping the insurance industry. Both those options were out of reach when you were still 27 and your Justice Department dossier stated in capital letters that you'd failed the bar exam 3 times. No one ever asked about the circumstances. No, you just had to keep throwing chum in the water at the children's hospital or homeless shelter, counting down the digits in your bank account until financial misery forced you to take a shift at the lower court under the downtown stadium. Sidebar. It was also theoretically possible to land a stint in AirShield's experimental medicines lab on K Street. At least there, you might contract something debilitating and negotiate for a permanent disability. But you couldn't count on luck, a fact I'd learned the hard way when I was 11, so I'd grudgingly filed for night duty near the end of the summer. When my rotation option came through, I tried the last thing I could think of to weasel out of it, which was asking Mom for money. I mean, she donated half of her retirement checks to network charities anyway. Maybe she would warm up a little and give me a loan. All it would cost was the tiny slice of dignity I kept in reserve for emergencies. "Hey, Mom," I said when she picked up. "It's Maxine." "Who?" "Oh, very funny," I said. She had to know who was calling. I was using her old phone, Digi. In the background, I could hear the match buzzer from her favorite game show, Winner, Winner, Chicken Dinner. "Eufy," she said after a pause. "You forget your real name all of a sudden?" "No, Mom, but I'm Maxine now. I told you last time we talked. I had it changed at the courthouse, so—" "What, the name I gave you wasn't good enough? Hold on, can you believe these people? 3 nights in a row she wins, and does she take the money and run? No, she says, let it ride. Let it ride, she says." Another pause. "So, what did you have to go and change your name for, huh?" I sighed. We'd been over this. "No one wants to hire a lawyer named Euphemia Kolpak, Mom." "Well, maybe nobody wants to talk to a daughter named Maxine Justice either. Goodbye, Euphy." Click. That's a verbatim transcript. I can still hear her sneering huff as she hung up. On the plus side, she hadn't asked me when I was going to repay the last loan she'd given me, 100 kappas for food during my final semester at school, at 7% interest. I now owed her almost 140 kappas, a fact she reinforced with monthly statements sent via paper envelopes in the United Republic Postal Service. So I had no fungible assets, save a tired student credit chit that was nearly maxed out, and whatever loose change I could find behind my sofa cushions. Of course, I still had my main assets, the things that had seen me through law school and several other traumatic adventures, namely an unconscious and wholly inaccurate aura of personal humility, my natural ability to charm regular folks even when they knew lawyers to be scum, a battered leather messenger bag that I planned to carry to my grave, and something my former employer had called rat-like instincts. If the latter doesn't sound like a compliment, you've never hired a personal injury attorney. Oh, and I also had a collection of animal freeloaders that seemed to recognize in me a kindred spirit. The squirrel that made its nest on my back porch, a dozen or so mice, a pair of doves nesting under the eaves, and the aforementioned stray tomcat I dubbed Oliver Wendell Homie. Oliver Wendell loved his free speech, particularly at 3 a.m. Eventually, I forced myself to grab my battered messenger bag and hop tubes to the Coliseum. The bag was more practical than a purse and had become something of a trademark, a way to stand out from a sea of young lawyers toting black attachés.